Howdy, howdy, and welcome back to Gale FFTCG. I'm Serah, your host, and it has been far too long. But today I'm coming at you with Magissa Turbo, and I myself am not a big fan of Modifier. Samurai's had a great showing, but it just wasn't my style. Great deck, but just wasn't my thing. So when the new Opus came around, and I was a little bit kind of like, what do you do after, I've been playing Doga Sophie for ages, and then it's gone. So I tried to build some other turbo decks, and turns out Magissa Turbo's pretty decent. So this has been really great for the 2-deck format that I've been playing at my locals recently. It's been a lot of fun to just have all that control pieces, but also be able to go really fast and really aggro and really in your face. So yeah, without further ado, let's just kick things off. First of all, we have 3 copies of Blaze, the kind of quintessential Magissa starter. EX Burst, when it enters the field, choose up to 2 forwards, you deal them 5k. This is your forwards, your opponent's forwards. It's good for clearing early boards. Say they drop Wonder Twins, Palum, really early. You just go, Blaze, cool, kill them both. Really cool stuff. You can also tap and crack Blaze and put it into the break zone and do all that good stuff to deal 7k to a forward. Again, can trigger Magissa if you're really desperate, or it can be an easy kill on something. So just a great card in general. We absolutely run this at 3 copies because we don't really have any backup searchers. We don't really need them either. I mean, I say that, but then we have Dominion Legionary, which basically when it enters the field, you search and you add another copy of Dominion Legionary to hand. If they ever print another copy of Dominion Legionary with a different, number or whatever, this card's gonna get bonkers. But basically it's just a search. You just play it turn 1, you search for your second copy. You might even be so bold as to play that copy on turn 1, and already you're up 2 backups and an extra card in hand. Really great card. Not much more to say here. We're running 2 copies of Geomancer. The list originally ran 3, but it's not necessary. It's kind of like, when you play it, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a fire card, every card in here is. So basically it just draws a card, and it's a 1 CP evoker, basically. Sometimes it's relevant, but you can tap and crack the Geomancer to choose a forward and deal it 2k, which is pretty good. We're running 1 copy of Irvin. Again, this is just a Magissa enabler, and it can kind of go up over some of maybe the weaker cards in our opponent's decks. When it enters the field, just deal 6k. Nothing much. It's not worth running at 3 of. It's just a 1 of little tech piece. Now, this is where the spice comes in. So, this new set introduced us to crystals. I've got a crystal video of that. I'll link it in the description. But it's a 2 CP that when it enters the field, it generates a crystal. You tap and put Samurai in the break zone. You can choose a forward. It deals damage to a forward this turn, and the damage increases by 1,000 instead. And you can only do it during your turn for what that matters. But yeah, this card is really cool because it has a searcher in the form of Cyan, which can be got off of Magissa. So Magissa kind of becomes a backup searcher, and that's really cool. So yeah, that's kind of why we're running it in this, and I'll get on to why we care about crystals in this list in a minute. So we have Palum. Palum, again, is a Magissa enabler. This list is called Magissa Turbo for a reason. We want to hit Magissa as soon as we can and just turbo out. The cool thing is this can go to the back foot and start playing a weird control game as well, which I really love. I love that this deck is really aggressive, but can also be played a lot more versatile if you really need to if you're in a matchup that's a little bit harder for aggro, you can switch and play a little bit more of a control game. So when it enters the field, we deal 4k to a forward, triggers Magissa, can, again, cheaply finish off something. So say we play a Blaze, we can kill something that's 9k if we play the Palum straight after. Great card. So we're running 2 Kuch Haspel, and I'm pretty much convinced at this point that if you're running anything fire, you run 2 copies of Kuch Haspel. Doesn't have great 8 searchers, unless you're playing FFCC. We're not, obviously. But this is a great card. It means that if we tap it, the damage dealt to forwards opponent control cannot be reduced this turn, so this gets around so many different things. This gets around, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, well, it gets around Rydia, the new 2CP Legend Rydia. It can get around just about anything that's like, this doesn't take damage, and basically if your opponent plays a Minwu, you shut off the Minwu. There's lots of different cards it gets around, but those are just a couple off the top of my head. Now, the reason we're running crystals is because of Bahamut. Bahamut's 4 CP deals something 9k, but if we pay a crystal, we can reduce the cost to 2, and having a 9k removal spell for 2 CP is really pretty good. So yeah, that's why we're running it, and because we can because of the fact we have basically a backup search engine a little bit with the Samurai, anytime we see this, we don't care if we have the crystals most of the game until we see one of these Bahamuts, and suddenly this Bahamut just becomes so good. Even at 4 CP for 9k, you know, if you have the CP to hardcast it, feel free, like, it's still a good card regardless. Obviously, running 3 copies of Amaterasu, our opponent will probably try and run board wipes against us. We just want to cancel those. We want to make sure they do not get a chance to do anything, really. So yeah, it's a 3 of, you have to run it basically if you're running fire. Some decks are running it even if you're not running fire, because they have ways of, like, cheating it out. So yeah. Another card that Magissa was not great last set, but another card that made this really good is the new Brynhildr. 2 CP EX Burst. You choose a forward, deal it 5k, and when that forward is put from the field into the break zone this turn, draw a card. This can be cheap removal early on if you're playing against the Wonder Twins matchup. This is really great though if you go ahead and you go shoot my Magissa and they're like, uh-oh, okay, I'm gonna have to go ahead and kill your Magissa. You're like, okay, that's fine, but I'll still get to draw a card. And that can be helpful depending on how you stack it. So if by some miracle they, like, let it resolve and your guy hits the battlefield, maybe it's a Cyan, and they're like, well, okay, whatever, I need to kill your Magissa because your Magissa can attack or something like that this turn, then you get to draw a card. And if you get a kill off of one of their little dudes, so much the better. This card is just great. Can't really say much more about it. It's just awesome. And we're still running the 1 CP Ifrit. We choose a forward, we deal it 5k. It's great. We hit Magissa with it, we get a body, and if our opponents receive 5 points of damage or more, which happens quite often with this deck, it's just an 8k for 1. Like, that's pretty broken. It's just good. We're running 2 copies of Philia. A lot of people were like, why aren't you running the 6-drop? And honestly, it's because Philia basically stops any ability damage, and that's huge. That gives us a good buffer. If our opponent is ahead, we throw this down, they lose their board, we take a point of damage, and that's alright, because this deck actually has some funny EX bursts that if we hit, it's alright. And the fact it just stays around on the board as a big 10k body is really good. We're running 1 copy of Braska's Final Aeon. It's more a tech card at this point, because in matchups where maybe we don't see our Kuch Haspel or whatever, or our opponent's using like water and wants to reduce damage or something, we just play this down and we start swinging. I found this to be really good against the 6 CP Ravana, the Lightning Legend, because it reduces things by 5k, but if you can't reduce the damage, doesn't matter, and it just dies. So yeah, just 1 copy, not much more to say here. It's a big boy that deals some damage. We're running 2 copies of Rain, and because our backups are really effective in this deck, this card is often like a 1 CP or something like that. If not even less than that, really, just based on what it does when it comes out and things. When Rain enters the field or attacks, we choose a forward, opponent controls, deal it 1k for each backup we control, and damage 3, it gains haste. So usually damage 3 is about when you want to see this card, so you play this kind of a little bit in the mid to late game, and suddenly you're like sweeping away things. You can play this after maybe you play a Blaze on the field for very cheap in the later game, and you just get off some really cool like pings. You go, okay, deal 5, attack, deal another 5 to the same thing, and it's 10k and you've killed a guy, and that's really, really powerful. We're running 1 copy of Cloud, and this is again another tech slot, but I found that because if you don't get your Magissa off early enough, your opponent can sometimes because a lot of the cards in this deck are dependent on Magissa, or they're like 3-drops that are really only good when you get them out with Magissa. See Forza and Alphano. Cloud is really good at bringing you back into games where you might have taken too much early damage to normally stabilize. It gives you like a 7k kill on something, and even in the later games, it can give you even more than that. And it's a body that kind of repeats itself a little bit as well. We're only running 1 copy because really, if it's discard for CP, we're not hurting, but it's really cool to have as that back foot in case you're in a game that's faster than you are, maybe Bart's Boko or something like that. Then we obviously have the girl herself, Magissa, 8k Beastmaster forward, 0, search for 1 fire forward of cost 3 and play it onto the field. You can only play this ability if Magissa has received 4k or more damage during this turn. And you can only do it once, which is fine. But a lot of the interaction in this deck, especially like the Brynhilders and Ifrits, means we can do this on our opponent's turn and make sure that basically we can trick out our stuff. And I'll show you a cool little trick when we get up to the 3-drops here as well. We're running 3 copies of Serah because we like doing extra ping damage to our opponents, and we like to get our summons back. This list is running 15 summons and 11 summons. I can't read. 11 summons, and we want to recur those as much as possible. Maybe that's an Amaterasu if we need to play that control game a little bit. Maybe it's Brynhilder if we want to keep pumping out guys with Magissa. So definitely a must play. Now for our Magissa targets, we're running 2 Gutsgo, and I am a huge fan of Gutsgo. It's this card that basically has secret lines of text all over it, which is you don't want to block it. If it dies, you draw cards. It's just the gift that keeps on giving. So we're running 2 copies of it because if we get off Magissa, it's great, and our opponent never wants to block it. But if, we board wipe with our own Ophelia, we're drawing like 5 cards. Things like that. It's a good card. When it enters the field, we remove the top, or attacks, we remove the top card of our deck from the game. Super cool. And then when it dies, we get them all back. It's just a great card in general. 10 out of 10. Just run it in any fire deck that you can. Fire has some decent ways of generating card advantage. This is its best way, hands down. Up next, we are running 1 Yuzuki, and this is our little combat trick I was talking about. So, say our opponent is about to board wipe. We have a Brynhilder or an Ifrit in hand, and we're like, okay, our opponent's about to do a damage-based board wipe. What are we going to do? Well, we hit the Magissa. We go, okay, I'm going to flip Yuzuki from my deck into the battlefield. And if a fire forward we control is dealt damage by our opponent's abilities, the damage becomes 0. So unless they have like a Cooch Haspel on the field, none of our board dies. So this is really a protection spell. And we really only care about the top line of text because we don't have any water ones besides Yuzuki. So this is just a little cool combat trick, but it's a good 3-drop target that just kind of outlasts the game. And when people see it, they start to panic a little bit. They're like, well, it's not an auto ability, so I can't, destroy it with Amaterasu. I'm going to have to go out of my way to hit it with some of the bigger removal spells. And at that point, you're already kind of winning because you have a decent board and your board is kind of just there. This is more of a tech slot as well. It's really only good in certain matchups, so you really, you don't mind seeing it, but you don't really have any other ways of casting it either, so you kind of want to just get it off Magissa. And if you draw into it, it's just CP. The same is true with Forza. I am convinced Forza is maybe one of the worst cards that you actually have to run. Kind of one of those lesser of two evil things. It's like, I don't want to run this card, but I have to run this card because it does do a lot. It's 3 CP, 9k. You can't cast it. You cannot play this from your hand. You can only play it from the field. I was tempted to run a couple of 7-drop Phoenixes, things like that, just to flicker this in. But those seem too high for just one card. So we're running at 1 copy. When it enters the field, we choose a forward opponent controls. We deal it 7k. If it ends up in our hand, which it does a little bit too often, admittedly, we just discard it for CP and no one gets hurt, really. Your opponent's like, oh, well, there's a 9k that's in the bin. You're like, oh, well, there's a 9k I can't cast. So there you go. And we have Alphano. Only one copy. The list originally ran one Alize to play the Alphano out of our hand in case, but the cases where that actually mattered was so fringe, it just wasn't that great. So yeah. When it enters the field, due to our summons or abilities, so Magissa, we can search for a character and add it to our hand. It's pretty spicy. And then we have 2 copies of Cyan. This is a bit of our backup search engine. We don't run any other samurais besides that 2-drop, but I was actually talking to Steve D of the YYT, and he was like, yo, try this out. It seems funny, but you probably will enjoy it. So I've tried it, and I actually really like it. It's an EX burst that basically searches for a samurai, and when a job samurai or card name samurai we control attacks, we deal 1k for each job samurai and each card name samurai we control to all of the forwards that our opponent controls. So basically, it's like a 2k ping across the board, and that can be actually kind of lethal. But we don't care about that so much as the fact it searches a backup. Pretty cool. And we're now on to our last couple of guys. So we've got 2 Rubicon Day. When it's put from the field into the break zone, we choose 1 forward opponent controls. We deal it damage equal to Rubiconte's power at damage 3. It gains plus 3,000, so that's 8k for 2. Can be really good, and also, most people don't think about it, but when it swings, it's 5k, and then if they decide to block it, this can trade up with 10k pretty easily. Anything higher than that, it actually gets even more broken. Great card. Definitely run it because it's cheap and it's a big guy. And 2 copies of Alua. It's got haste. When it attacks, you can duel any number of active fire characters you control, or backup, sorry. And when you do, you choose 1 forward. You deal 3k for each backup you dueled due to the ability, and Alua gains plus 3,000 for each backup you dueled due to this ability until end of turn. Super good, super powerful, and honestly, this is just a finisher. 9 times out of 10, this card is the last card I play in a game, and it just seals the game. If you are really early on, you have a Magissa, and you have like 1 backup, you can swing, or 2 backups, sorry. You can swing with Alua, tap 2 backups, and shoot your own Magissa to get out another thing, and that is a really cool little trick you can do. So, yeah, that is basically the list. Let me know what you think in the comments. Comment, like, subscribe, you know, do the things. Hit that bell notification. But hopefully this is a cool idea for you. I've played it in loads of tournaments, and I'm really, really, really enjoying it. But yeah, have a great day and a great rest of your week.